Good morning. It must be Thursday, must be around 11 o'clock because it's Mandy Brenham coming to you live today. Another episode of the Full-Time Investor. I wanted to start off by being able to say that, thank you to Rain Canada. I won my gold Rain pin last night, which means that I've acquired 17 properties as a Rain member. And Rain is real estate investing network. And I've done all of that since I became a member just in January of 2018. So in a year and a half, I've acquired 17 properties. And when I asked the crowd last night, I was speaking on a panel, I was like, hey, how many people have heard of me or watched my show? And so I want to just thank my tribe for following, to be like, holy crud, there's a lot of people that are watching and getting some really good value out of this. And today's show is going to be no difference. Thanks, Linda. No difference because Michelle Gauthier, who I totally still continue to look up to, and we've just connected on so many different levels. Michelle, how many years have you been in the investing world now? Like, go back a few years and be able to say, who was Michelle as a first-time investor?
Go back a few years? Jeez. As I watch contractors outside my window, it's hard to focus.
I'd expect nothing less, Michelle. Nothing less from you. Of course, you're going to have contractors in your window. Yeah. Do they have their shirts on?
Say they do, yes. But they're cool here, so later thing. Anyway, so about 8 years ago, I guess, 2010, 2011, we started investing. This was a crazy thing, really to start and start to use the equity in our own home to start, we had stocks and mutual funds and we never made any money. And we made more money just on the appreciation in our own home than we did on anything we ever invested in. And so we finally, just got fed up and started buying properties. And that's, never looked back, I guess.
Never look back. And so we've got something major in common, which is in 2018, both of our husbands were retired. Or do you say to people that you retired your husband, or the choices that you two made in the support of each other allowed him to be able to step away by choice from his earned income?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I guess we're retired from jobs. Because we both used to work before we started this venture. But we're not retired,
Right. Yeah. So talk about the transition. So there's your hubby. What did he do? What kind of world did he come from to be able to now be doing this?
He came from heavy construction sales. He's got an engineering background, and then he got into sales years ago for heavy form work for concrete, and worked there for years and years and years, and finally just got fed up with bureaucracy and travel. And he was looking at going to a new company, actually. He was so excited. It was going to be the TTC expansion, and he was going to run this new company out of BC, and they wanted him to basically take charge. He ended up an hour and a half in traffic getting downtown. He was so excited about the interview, and it was an opportunity. He came home and said, you know what? I'm not doing it. He was standing on the subway platform, and the company was talking about, you're going to help us expand, and you're going to help us grow our business, and we're going to do this and that. And he's like, wait a minute, I can help you grow your business, or I could help my wife grow our business. So he came home, and I'm like, what the heck happened? What happened? What happened to you? And that was the last day. That was it.
That was it. But you guys, and that was the moment that he had the choice presented to him. But what was your relationship working out? And I say relationship, yeah, you're married, we're married, regardless, that's irrelevant. I don't want to say that's irrelevant. It's a supportive thing. But how did you guys collaboratively be able to say, Michelle, you go and do this, I'm going to stay at my full-time job? What are the benefits that he had staying at his full-time job to be able to create the position that you were in?
Mortgage qualifying, number one.
Mortgage qualifying.
Yeah.
Round of applause. This is my new thing. I do round of applause. Yeah. Don't quit your day job too soon, right?
No, don't. Because, we just have a little bit of a different philosophy than you about, scalability is definitely a concern when you don't do joint ventures, but we haven't up until now done joint ventures. We do everything ourselves a little bit, and mortgage qualifying was key for us. So.
And so just for the listeners, please describe what you have now, because what you have now on your own with no joint ventures is the like impressive shit.
Well, I mean, you don't want not a big one for throwing numbers, but we have, I don't know, we have a lot of equity in our properties. We have over 60% equity. We do need to look at doing some refis, but we've been really, really lucky, and our portfolio is growing millions and millions. So we're pretty pleased. We're pretty pleased with what we've built.
Yeah, and you guys have single families, you've got duplexes, you have up to a 12-unit apartment building. Like you were able to really get strategic with your financing. Like when you hit that crunch of how do we continue to grow, what was some of the thoughts that you had? How did you continue to build a portfolio, just the two of you?
We looked outside the box. We have a couple vendor takebacks, 95% vendor takebacks. Crazy as it is. Who goes to, because there was a realtor involved in those deals, and who goes to a sale? The poor seller had to go to his closing with cash to sell it to us. He had to pay to no longer be the owner, which is kind of crazy. I don't realize that by the time I paid the realtor, 95% VTB, but 4%, no less.
Wow.
Yeah. So, we have a few of those. We haven't had huge stumbling blocks with the bank, really.
Okay.
We've been lucky. But then again, we haven't really done much in the last year in terms of rather than the refis and pulling money out and paying cash for properties, which I don't recommend, but it is. We haven't many stumbling blocks, and maybe that's because the equity we have in the properties, the way they've appreciated. A lot of our portfolios in Chatham, Ontario. And I mean, I don't hang my hat on what Canadian Real Estate Wealth magazine says. It's not the be all to end all, but it was printed, I think it was last month or the month before, that Chatham Kent went up 37% last year, which I think it was just a waiting game. It hadn't grown. And then this light bulb moment was going on for a lot of investors, a lot of people, a lot of immigration coming into Chatham, and it just exploded. So
there it was.
Those are the numbers. So, and we have quite a few units. I think we have 40 some units in Chatham. So
wow. Yeah. So you guys together, yourself and your spouse, Mike, you guys were building this portfolio, or you're getting creative financing, you're utilizing Mike's mortgage ability because of his stability within his job. And then he's come to this spot to be able to say, standing on a subway platform, I don't want to do this anymore. And he comes and says, I want to work as hard as I would for another company. I want to work for us. I like that. What are some of the mental things that he had to go through to be able to say, I bet you he's not showing up in a suit and tie anymore. He potentially is, the boss on the site, but, how is he feeling mentally to be able to say that he's come and transitioned into this, right? We sometimes say you quit your 40-hour-a-week job so you could work for yourself and work for 80 hours. So what's some of his transition that he's had to go through?
Oh, well, I can't speak for him. It's funny, he's away today in Chatham dealing with some stuff, but it was a real adjustment for him, because he was, all of a sudden that income wasn't there, and so we thought he had to put in. We were in the middle of a flip actually when the whole thing happened. So he was putting in 80 plus hours. He was on site by 5 a.m. He was doing some of the stuff that you should never do as an investor.
Yeah.
Wire doing his own stuff, but we had to go through that process. He had to go through that and realize that yes, we're going to be okay, and how it's just a different way of making money and looking for deals and doing more flips, because we have passive income, but we don't have the active income. We didn't have the active income, so sorry.
Michelle is on job site right now.
Yeah, I am on job site. This is the only nice part of the house, and I don't know what they're doing out there.
That's okay.
If I have an iPad, I might have to take you guys outside.
Hashtag so real, right? Hashtag so real. Mike has the skills. You have the skills. How have you changed or transitioned with your spouse being in your Finish the question. You answer how you need to answer.
Oh man, it is a real adjustment because all of a sudden I was the boss. I was responsible for this company. I was responsible for the accounting. I was responsible for everything. And all of a sudden, I mean, as much as we agree on a lot of things, you can't agree on everything. And now all of a sudden he's like, well, what's this charge for? And what's this? And what's this? And I'm like, would you just get out of the accounting? Would you just get out of the books? Would you get out of the accounts? Would you, you know, and it was like, you know, we've been married for 25 years actually next week. And I think I was ready to kill him that first 6 months. So it was a tough adjustment for all of us because suddenly I'm going from number one employee to having somebody else questioning me. It's like getting a boss in a way, even though he's not my boss. It's just questions, right? So it was
questions.
It was tough.
Do you divide and conquer now? Or have you each found your own little niche? Because you were doing it all. So how did you decide which roles he was going to take on and which roles you would continue?
His strength is obviously construction and managing that stuff. And yeah, so he kind of takes on what he does and I just pick up whatever he doesn't want, really. I do a lot of the accounting, the books. I do a lot of the design, the purchasing. I help him a lot with finding contractors depending on, you know, what's going on and whatnot. But yeah, we just make it work. And then there's the whole family thing, right? There's that whole side of it, which that's definitely more, you know, me being around, him being more out of town on site, dealing with, you know, because we do have so many rentals and we do self-manage. He has to deal with that as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you're transitioning, I don't want to say transitioning, it's not necessarily a transition, but you are passing on, you're sharing down this knowledge. Why don't you tell us about your entire family and how your children are watching what it is you and Mike are doing?
Sure, no. So our youngest is 17. We have two boys and our youngest is 17. And this flip that I'm on right now has been a great experience for him. He's helped with electrical. He's done tear out. He's done all kinds of things. It's been great. He's been here on site doing things, and we're really trying to just get him interested in anything. And so that's the youngest. And the oldest one, he's always been a little bit more involved in the business. He's been to our rentals. He's dealt with issues we've had with tenants, and he's 19, and he just bought his first rental property. He bought a duplex.
Wow. 19.
Yeah. So he used some of his education money and off he went, and he has a duplex now. So
wow. And you think this is the first of many? Is he pretty into it, or is this like you guys having to drag? Like, do you feel there's a transition? I know that sometimes kids are like they want nothing to do with it. Or, they just perceive it as it's just taking mommy and daddy away from them. I know that it depends on how old your kids are when they start, but did you kind of see a flick, a switch that flicked to be able to say they came around?
Yeah, I did see a switch that flicked, no question, but there's still a lot of, he does work full time this summer and, I mean, let's face it, like I'm making sure everything's set up, because there is utilities in his name and everything's set up. And I've done a lot of the work, but I force him to be involved. This is how I did it. This is your sign, So yeah, he's been pretty good. He's been pretty good about being involved as best as a 19-year-old can, right?
It'll be the end of his 3 or 4 year stint at that college or that institution that you'll say, hey, just to let you know, we're gonna, let's reappraise your property to see what it's gone up in the time that you've been here, and you're gonna start to be able to show him this large amount of money that he's made, or that the mortgage has been paid down and stuff. And so I think that big numbers will talk.
Yeah, and he's got great cash flow. The funny thing is, right out of the gate, I think he has almost 500 per unit per month. Yeah, I know. So, I mean, unfortunately, we all know that this is not normally the way it works, but I mean, we did find this property. We said, okay, if you don't buy it, we're going to buy it. So, and he's like, no. So it's actually worked out, come out roses. I have a little bit of pressure now with the younger one now.
Yeah. Find me one of those deals. My youngest Jacob is 14, and he just did a little entrepreneur thing this past weekend, wanted to buy freezies and drinking boxes. We dropped him off at a festival in town, and he opened up his cooler and whatever and was selling these freezies. And he came home probably about 4 hours later, and he's like, Mom, I didn't even make minimum wage. And so, yeah, I was like, excellent. I kind of didn't want you to. I wanted you to understand that 4 hours and the prep time and the what, you know, he barely paid me back for the cost of getting the goods. But that they start to realize the effort in and the results out. And it's not always easy. I'm sure your son has realized that, you know, the stress of getting that mortgage and the stress of the conditions and going to sign with a lawyer and what does that mean? And you're putting them in these situations that you're just like, this isn't always comfortable.
No, exactly. But, you know, you want them to have that pain. Right now he's working. I want him to hate his job because I want him to want more.
Right. So how have you stayed motivated? How have you continued to, for gosh sakes, learn about 95% VTBs and when, you know, to hear you say that you had lots of passive income and you were looking for some active income, that's amazeballs. I think most people start with the active and then they're like, but how do I get this to turn to passive? So, you know, how have you continued to stay on the ball and up to date and motivated?
I think we motivate each other. Now that he's not working, my husband's not working. I think that's you know, something that's always in the back of our heads. But we also have a network. We have a great network of people. Yes. 100%. We have an awesome mastermind I'm part of, and I hear about what the other women are doing. Like there's lots of different ways, different groups, different meetups. I'm asked to speak at different events and whatnot, which you get energy from other people. You get energy from networking for sure. So it's just staying involved. Involved. But, you know, I don't want current. Yeah. What's that?
And current, like what are people doing today, right? You started in 2010, 2011, and I'm sure some of the strategies that you did back then are not able to be done today, or you've had to be evolving and going and changing over time.
Yeah. And things have changed so much, right? And, you know, and investors ask you, I'm sure they ask me, you know, how do you get mortgages? How do you do this? And things have changed so much.
Yeah.
So it's a moving target. It definitely is.
Yeah.
And hearing from other investors, you know, that this financial institution is the flavor of the month. Heard about it last month that, you know, Gauthier, this is where they're handing out mortgages now, and then next month it'll be different. So you've got to, networking is so important.
As weird as it is, you can actually tell which bank is getting audited because they tighten up their reins, right? And they're like, oh no, people are going to be looking through all of our stuff. And it's not us, the clients, but it's them internally. And next thing you know, they've tightened up all the rules, and yeah, they're over here and another bank's handing them out because they had the audit 3 years ago and realized that their numbers were down. And so it's at that point that, gosh, do I ever realize that the bank needs me? I actually just did a video on this the other day, but that the bank needs me. They need me to borrow money. And any bank that's handing out money like this has potentially tightened up their rules so much, or, you know, tweaked a little system to be like, oh, you know, instead of it being 80% rental income that will help qualify, we're going to tweak it to 50. Next thing you know, that drops the qualifications down. People go elsewhere. And now the bank is sitting there with like all this cash. And they're like, what do I do with all this cash? They need you to be able to borrow it.
Right. That's right. And that's another reason why when you get a no from one bank, you don't say, you know, say you get a no from CIBC, you don't say, well, all the big five are going to say no. No, it's incredible how, you know, you can go over to Scotia and all of a sudden, you know, they rolled the red carpet for you. And it's like, wow.
Where was this last year when I asked you? And you're like, oh, this didn't exist last year, but it exists because CIBC tightened up and all the clients are walking across the street over there to be able to go there. You know what? Tell me about this project. So you guys do long-term buy and holds. You're doing creative financing with some 95% VTBs. What is it that you found an awesome deal? Are you interested in sharing the numbers on the deal that you're in right now, some of where you found it, what your vision was, and how you knew it was something you wanted to act on?
Well, we had a call privately. We have stuff, we have marketing out there. And so we got a call on a property, and it's in London, but it's very, very close to the 401, 402 corridor. It's like a minute from the 402, 2 minutes from the 401. Just happens to be at that cross intersection where they cross. And we looked at it, and it was a hoarding house. Well, they dusted their boxes, but they were boxes nonetheless. This house is a 3,000 square foot house, and it was full of junk when we saw it. It has a 8-car garage in the back. 8-car garage. I know. I'll take you guys on a tour if you want after, and an indoor.
An indoor pool.
Yes. So we picked it up for under 500. And it needs work, but it doesn't need a lot of work. Like it's all the windows were brand new, but these wonderful people that owned it, they just never finished anything. And so they, lived out of boxes. They really didn't have furniture. And they put in 18 new windows in this house, and they never trimmed any of them out. So they were just, the foam was hanging out for 5 years like that. And they put in a brand new kitchen, but they didn't finish it. It's not the best kitchen. We're going to take it out. But, it's all those little things that we can make this an amazing property. So that's what we're doing. Was
the pool functionable?
No, the pool I would love to share a picture. Maybe I will give you a picture to post after. It had so much algae on it. It was blacker than black. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen. And not knowing a lot about pools. Anyway, so we saw the vision though. We saw what it could be, what this property could be. And we bought it, and it turns out the pool took a weekend to clean up. Just a lot of chemicals.
You touch on such a good point, which is why you're sitting in the successful chair, is to be able to say most people would see an indoor pool and potentially run away. I remember the first house other than big mansions that aren't mine to be able to go and buy and renovate. But I remember the first house that I saw with an indoor pool, and it was like emergency brake, run around. I don't know what this means. I don't know what the outcome is. And there were so many unknowns that I walked away. You go, okay, I don't know. How do you get over that, that hurdle, that mind block of, I don't know this answer. I don't know what the outcome could be, but I'm going to move forward anyways.
Well, and I suffer a little bit, I'll be honest. People see us as successful real estate investors, and we are, but I do suffer from the analysis paralysis. A little bit more than my husband, but yeah, I had to look at the comps. I had to look at the numbers, figure it out. Bottom line, there's a lot of pluses. This house is ideal for a contractor, landscaper that works all the time. Pool. You could use the pool as a shop. You can cover it over if you want, but it's a extremely large pool, all lined in cedar. The value of that alone is huge.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
8-car garage.
So want to go for a walk?
Yeah, take us for a walk.
Okay, we'll take you for a walk.
That's it.
This will add a different element to your show.
I like it.
This is an on-site thing. Not going to go through everything that's part of the house, but
you have standard colors. Is this standard flooring? Do you choose each one as you go?
No, we've done this in 5 houses now. It always works. It's the gray brown thing going, and the gray wall, the white cabinets, nice trim. You see SOS on the window. Sorry. But,
oh yeah.
So
your son was trapped in there for a weekend of work, and he was like, "Help me out! Somebody let me out!"
Right. So we're gonna put barn doors on these two with the everything's black hardware with white. Okay. And then this is it's going to be like a lower living room. It's a perfect room for a pool table, exercise equipment. See, there's the brand new windows. These is the way they were.
Okay.
Trimmed out. We have a roof leak, but it's an easy fix. Laundry room in here. These commercial doors, I've got new doors already. These are the ugliest Sears doors. We call them the Sears doors.
You're entering into the store right now.
And then there's the pool. It's all tiled. The deck, we're refinishing all the deck off, but the white coping is awesome. There's not a mark on this concrete, not a mark on the pool.
Wow.
It's awesome. There's a sauna in the back corner there. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
You can almost have this as an Airbnb.
We talked about it, but there's, we had a couple Airbnb experts here, and it could end up being a real party house.
And a liability nightmare.
Yeah, so there's from there. So then I'll take you out real quick. This is the other part of it. Nobody believes me until they see it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 8. There's only like 6 doors, but there's some 3 cars and 2 cars, and yeah, this is it here.
Sheeshers.
Yeah.
And somebody just called you off of a flyer that you'd sent out and realized that these people, they just wanted to sell. Why would they not have put it on MLS, out of curiosity, for the listeners who sometimes wonder why people don't list with agents?
They had a conspiracy theory against agents. All agents were bad. I'm not really sure. I didn't get into it with them. But they actually, you have to give sellers what they want. And I've heard all kinds of strange requests when we do, here, I'll flip it here. When we
such a good point.
When we do,
Michelle, you're upside down.
Okay.
There we go.
So when we do houses, often sellers do have strange requests. And this one was, they wanted to live here for 60 days after close. They needed their money in their hands to believe they had the money. And then they would go out shopping for a house.
Okay.
So the house closed in May, and they didn't end up leaving till mid-July, actually, before they left. So that was, now I got it here. So yeah, so that's kind of what we agreed with them. That was part of the deal.
So you're able to, which is such a key point here. You've got to listen to what it is the sellers are looking for and how you can satisfy these sellers. So for you, it was 60 days notice that they wanted to stay. I know other situations it's just been, you know what, I need to be able to close fast, or, all kinds of different stuff to be able to say why they would sell it to you at a potentially under market value. Although really in their eyes, they're probably getting, walking away, not having to show the house to anybody, not having to, do any of the work to it that a real estate agent might say that they might need to do to be able to get top value, all these kind of things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
At houses where I've had to find people apartments, to buy their house and help them move. And I mean, that's, it's not ideal and it's not scalable, but you know what, if you're going to get an amazing deal in a house, and this is, this is your active income, right? Then you do what you need to do to get the deal done.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and a lot of times, it means being creative.
I think that's an underlying thing that I've heard you say is really you just get in there and get your hands dirty, whether you're the property manager or a contractor or a negotiator, you're helping a tenant move, a client move. You're putting on like so many different hats in a day to be able to say, we have what we have because of everything that you're not afraid to do. So that's a key takeaway here. Do what you need to do to get shit done, right?
Well, it's so true. Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. Because yeah, you can't, you listen to every other investor and they say, oh, I don't pick up a hammer and I supervise and I do this. And yeah, I get it. It's scalable. But at the end of the day, sometimes, and a lot of times, you need to get shit done. You just do, I
sanded drywall one time at like 4 o'clock in the morning because I knew that the painter was coming, because we've already been delayed because of humidity, and we couldn't do this and we couldn't do that. And I remember rolling over to Larry and saying, like, the weather is right. Are you going or am I? And he was like, I'm not going. I have to work. At that point, he was still at work, and he's like, I have to go to work at 7. And so I said, fine, I will go. And I took a picture of myself because I've never sanded before, but this shit needs to get done so my painter can come in to get on to the next thing. And it was just so essential at this point in the game. There was no more asking the next person to come. There was no more delays. Delays is dollars. And I was like, nope, get this stuff done. So yeah. You know what, Michelle, I really want to thank you. Oh, there we go. Rasmus says she loves your black hardware. Hello, Steve. Hello, Channing. It's nice to see everybody. This is it for another episode of the Full-Time Investor. Michelle, thank you so much for coming in. Michelle and I are part of a mastermind together, always making sure that we're around like-minded people who are growing. You taught me something the last time about fire code and large buildings. And so you never know when you're going to need that information. But just hearing that somebody else is going through it makes you realize that you're not alone and that your little problems sometimes aren't as big as what somebody else is dealing with. And a perception of a large problem is really just a small problem to somebody else. So make sure you're around like-minded people. And I want to just be able to say, hey guys, you know what? Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions for me, please post it in the comment box. I'd love to know you're here. For the amount of people that I talked to last night that said, I love your show. I didn't know you were watching, and I love that you're watching. Let me know that you're watching. Let's create a tribe together. Feel free to go onto YouTube and like my Joint Venture Queen YouTube channel. And I will see you here next week on another episode of The Full-Time Investor. Mandy Brenham signing off.